Hi, YouTube family. How are you all doing? How are you all doing? Hope you all are doing great. Yes, welcome to this video. This is Victorious Novel. Here we talk about my faith in God, lifestyle, finances, all that pertains to life and godliness. Yes, just helping us all be all that which God has called us to be. Yep. So today, in continuation of our series on sinking fund, yes, talking about money, talking about how best we can save, manage our money intentionally. In continuation to that series, I'm gonna be just sharing the difference between a sinking fund and an emergency fund. Yes, I know you hear all these terms, you hear people talking about them, and you get lost sometimes when you hear them. So I'm just here to make it simple, to make it relatable, and just try my best to explain these terms and the differences and how you can use them in your financial journey. So, what is an emergency? I'm going to define an emergency and then it's going to lead us to what an emergency fund is. From the English dictionary, it says an emergency is defined as a sudden, unexpected situation that causes the need to take an immediate action. Examples of emergencies are illness, death, a job loss, pandemic, just like the one we are in, an injury, medical or surgical operations. Those are examples of emergency. Yes, in our financial journey, we have been advised to set up emergency funds. This is life. Life is full of uncertainties. And one way to be able to help us navigate those uncertain times is having an emergency fund. You can ask me, how do I set up an emergency? You can decide to open a saving account and decide to start putting in bits of money into that saving account towards your emergency saving. Especially when you have children, a lot of things can happen to your children. A lot of things can happen to life that will not just affect you, but will affect your family. How well are you securing them? How well are you securing your own sanity when uncertainties, when life hits hard at you? And this is the whole essence of an emergency fund. I know it is said that every individual who wants to be in a healthy financial space should have at least 3 to 6 months of emergency fund, which means you should have at least 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenditure saved in an emergency fund, so that if you lost your job within this 3 to 6 months period while you are using money from that emergency fund, that's the time when you're looking for a job. So it helps you just stay insane, maintain your expenditures, still maintain your living standard even when uncertainties hit. They are not doing GoFundMe. You are not running helter-skelter like a fowl that was knocked by a car. You have a focus. Yes. And on the other hand, what are sinking funds? I'll also define sinking fund. Sinking funds, on the other hand, is saving for things or events or big purchases that are fixed and can be predicted. They are fixed and can be predicted. So those are sinking funds. Examples of sinking funds are car repairs, car maintenance, birthday, Christmas, wedding, down payment for a home. Those are examples of sinking funds. So with sinking fund, these are fixed, large or small purchases or events that you know for certain that they are going to happen. For example, if you have a car, you bought a second-handed car, you should be able to save for car repairs because you know that that car will need oil change. You will need to go for checkup all the time. So how do you save for those events which you know about? If you have a birthday, you know when you were born. You know that, okay, every year I want to celebrate my birthday. How do you save towards that birthday celebration? Money will not just fall from the sky on your birthday for you to use. There has to be an intentional saving towards that event. Christmas is coming. You are that one person with a very big family. You always host your family for Christmas. You buy everybody gifts. How are you gradually saving towards Christmas? What you do is open sinking fund accounts. Some people do cash envelopes that they save, they slot out money into that cash envelope weekly or bi-weekly or monthly towards that event or that big purchase. So that is what is called a sinking fund. I've made 2 videos about it. If you haven't watched them, I'm going to link them in the description to define what are sinking funds, how to set up a sinking fund, and I also explain the difference between a sinking fund and a normal savings. So check out the videos in the description box. Yep. So that's the difference between an emergency saving or an emergency fund and a sinking fund. There is no specific duration for an emergency fund. You can hold an emergency fund as long as you want until that emergency or something uncertain, which is actually an emergency, happens. I remember when it was Christmas, I made a video and I made a comment that Christmas is not an emergency. So you shouldn't be dipping your hand into your credit card or going into debt to be able to meet up with Christmas expenditure. If you don't have a sinking fund, then spend what you have that you have budgeted for in your grocery. Just live life. But if you want to go that extra mile on spending Christmas in a certain way, then start now. Start saving. If you haven't begun from the beginning of the year, then it's not too late. Start now and start saving towards that Christmas event you want to host. But with a sinking fund, there is certainty. There is a time period where you hold the amount. Say if you open a sinking fund for your birthday, you save up to your birthday. So there is a certain particular date that you save up to. It has a time limit. An emergency fund, you can hold is you only use them when that emergency arises. But with sinking funds, you hold the money until that's time date for that event or when you want to make that big purchase, which most often the time period is always known. So that's another difference between a sinking fund and an emergency fund. Another thing I want to talk about when it comes to how much do you put aside for sinking funds or emergency fund. For sinking funds, you know how much you put aside because you know how much you want to spend on your birthday, or you know how much you want to buy a car, and then you divide that amount by the number of months or the number of weeks or number of bi-weekly payments that you want to make until the day you want to buy the car. So you know that, okay, if you want to spend $1,000 for Christmas celebration and we're in the month of March, we are starting in March, it means you have to divide the 1,000 by 10 months, which means you know that you are saving $100 every month to be able to meet up with the 1,000 Christmas expenditure, or $50 bi-weekly to be able to meet up, or $25 every week to be able to meet up with the 1,000 expenditure for Christmas spending. So you know specifically. But when it comes to emergency fund, most often just keep putting money there. Like just set a certain goal and keep putting money there. It's not built in a day. Emergency fund, it takes time to grow. It takes time for you to get to that place where you have like your 3 months expenditure in your emergency fund, or 6 months. It takes time. So it's a gradual process, but very intentional and very you're not neglecting it just because you don't feel the pressure, because emergencies can happen at any time. So it's good to have an emergency fund and start saving towards it. So just like I stated, building an emergency fund is a journey. And most often where we get caught up is the fact that things happen, or we have events, or most often we run to an emergency to take out money from my emergency fund, thereby crumbling the building we have begun building, and then we have to start rebuilding. But when you have a sinking fund just prevents you from always running to an emergency fund or to your credit card or a personal loan. Thereby, you have to start rebuilding that preventing you from start rebuilding that emergency fund all over. Imagine you say, okay, this year you began building your emergency fund, and maybe in December, Christmas, boom, Christmas shows up. Yeah, we know about Christmas, but because you did not have a sinking fund for Christmas, then you are forced to get into your emergency fund or to your credit card. If you get into your credit card, then you land yourself in debt. If you get into your emergency fund, then you have just crumbled this structure that you have been trying to build for a year. And then next year you start back from zero, which keeps you in a vicious cycle of always rising, and when it seems like you're rising, you're falling. But if you have your sinking fund for those specific events and bigger purchases, when those events come up, you already have money saved in your sinking fund to meet up with those events while still building your emergency fund and not touching it. So that's the difference between a sinking fund and an emergency fund. A sinking fund just helps you uphold or just empowers you to keep building your financial ladder, or to keep climbing your financial ladder without crumbling your emergency fund or plunging yourself into debt. I hope this video was helpful. Please, any questions you have on this video, leave in the comment section. I'll be sure to address it on emergency funds and sinking funds. Love you all with the love of God. Remember, God loves you, and stay blessed. I hope you got something from this video.